Hello, welcome to the NASATE workshop. Today we're going to be talking about technology, particularly AI and technology. So what is NASATE? It's the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and it explains the 8 traits that employers and recruiters are consistently looking for in students when they look to hire for internships and full-time roles. Today we're going to be talking about AI and technology, which is one of these 8 competencies. So, the definition of technology, according to NACE 8, is to understand and leverage technologies ethically to enhance efficiencies, complete tasks, and accomplish goals. So, this is the definition that is provided by NACE 8 of technology as a skill that is useful in the workforce. So, being able to understand and also use these technologies actively. And I also want to highlight that it says ethically as well. So, having those ethical considerations of the technologies that you're using and the associated implications of them, and being able to use them to enhance efficiency, complete tasks, and accomplish goals in a manner that is conducive to your role and to you personally. Some sample behaviors of technology is to navigate change and be open to learning new technologies. Use technology to improve efficiency and productivity of work. Identify appropriate technology for completing specific tasks and quickly adapting to new or unfamiliar technologies. And there's a lot of judgment-based wording here. For example, appropriate technology in specific tasks. So it is also about the judgment behind the technology use. So, what technology are you using for what, and in what ways is it adequate and appropriate, and in what manners are there things that you can do yourself without the use of this technology? And also just being able to adapt to different technologies, whether that's different softwares or different hardwares that the company is using, being able to adapt to proprietary softwares or changing systems. That's also a really large skill. And as college students, there's a large advantage for that going into the workforce. Responsible technology use is understanding your organization's policies on technology use, for example, not using your phone at work, things like that. Using company accounts and devices professionally and appropriately. Looking up or asking a question that you can answer using your resources or the internet before asking a higher up. Protecting sensitive information and never sharing client data or other private data on social media into unsecured or unauthorized tools, etc. And this does include public domain AI tools such as ChatGPT. There are probably specific company policies for the companies that you're going into about using AI tools, using company devices to communicate professionally, for example, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, emails, and this can also depend on what specific tasks you're using for. Some tasks may have you use Microsoft Teams to send a quick message or a quick follow-up. Some tasks require Zoom or Teams calls, and then some tasks that are maybe more in depth or of a certain characteristic can require emails. Irresponsible technology use looks like inputting client names or other private information into a public AI tool or disclosing on social media. Submitting AI-generated work as entirely your own. Copy and pasting outputs without fact-checking, and relying on AI decisions that are part of your own job description and that you should be able to carry out independently. Technology in the workplace looks very different across sectors and industries. For business and finance, it can look like data analytics platforms like Tableau, Power BI, CRM softwares like Salesforce, Excel, reporting tools. On the marketing and communication side, it can look like social media scheduling tools, email marketing, SEO software, content management systems, and performance analytics dashboards, as analytics is also a large part of marketing and communications. For healthcare, technology is also used extensively. It can be used for electronic health records, telemedicine platforms, diagnostic imaging software, and patient data management systems. For engineering and tech, there's CAD softwares, project management tools, coding environments, cloud platforms. For education, there's learning management systems such as Canvas, virtual classrooms, student data tracking, and digital curriculum tools. For hospitality and retail, point of sale systems, the POS systems, inventory management, customer loyalty, booking systems, and for nonprofits and government, grant management software, constituent relationship management tools, and public data platforms. So it is really variable on what area you're going into, but technology is used very widely across the board, across industry for specific and different uses. So being aware of what kind of technology is used in the workplace that you're going into and in what ways. And how to develop technology skills. You can take computer science courses like Computer Science 121, Computing for All, or Computing for All 2, which will likely have different catalog names on under the semester system. Learning industry-specific technology through your courses such as Minitab, SolidWorks, AutoCAD, Python, etc. Becoming comfortable with using chatgpt.edu effectively through your Cal Poly portal, which is under My Apps. So we have chatgpt.edu, which is the pro account of ChatGPT with our Cal Poly logins. Complete the CSU Introduction to AI micro-credential. Seek out technology-related certifications related to your field of interest, for example, SolidWorks, Google certification, etc. And you can research and look up what technology-related certifications you can complete. Create a LinkedIn profile. Utilize Mustang Jobs through the Cal Poly portal. And demonstrating technology skills, you can share examples of how you've learned new technologies or used new technologies to improve efficiency in school or work projects. So having those examples of different softwares that you're using, such as Excel or Google Workspace or Office Suite. Updating your resume and LinkedIn profile with technology related skills that you are proficient in. So having that updated on your resume and your LinkedIn profile. Preparing for technical interviews, depending on your major or the industry that you're going to, you may be asked to demonstrate your proficiency of a specific programming language or software application. So, being able to prepare for those, for example, if it's an interview where you will be tested on Python, being able to demonstrate your efficiency there. And as for artificial intelligence or AI, we will be looking into that a bit as well. So, the definition of artificial intelligence, the real core definition, according to NASA, is that it refers to computer systems that can perform complex tasks that are normally done by human reasoning, decision making, creating, etc. So it's a computer system that is doing the tasks that a human normally would, that are complex. And common applications of AI as of now are digital assistants such as chatbots and virtual helpers that can answer questions and manage data tasks, recommendation systems, algorithms used by Netflix, like Netflix or Spotify, that can suggest content based on your past habits and your past engagements to recommend new things that it thinks that you will like. Autonomous systems like self-driving cars that are in coming out in cities or robotic vacuum cleaners that can navigate unpredictable environments like the Grubhub robots. And then for some terminology, tokens, just to familiarize yourself with terminology in the AI realm, since you might see it on the news or you might talk about it with a recruiter or employer or something like that. Tokens refers to the units that AI uses to actually process the text. So every word, punctuation mark, and space gets broken into small chunks called tokens. So this is how the computer interprets it. So it doesn't understand the word itself, but it's breaking it down into tokens. And AI tools have a limit on how many tokens they can handle at once before you can hit a paywall or whatever it may be. And then the GPU stands for the graphics processing unit. And this is the physical hardware that makes AI possible by processing massive amounts of data simultaneously. So this is the same reason that high-end GPUs are expensive and in high demand right now because it needs to be able to run huge amounts of data. So this is what it makes AI actually physically able to occur from a hardware perspective, not a software perspective. So when Lovable runs out of tokens, Lovable is an AI tool. It is because GPUs powering it can only handle so much at once before you hit your limit. So that is a way to incorporate those first two terms. And then a hallucination is also important to know. It is when AI confidently gives you an answer that is completely wrong or made up. It is predicting what sounds right based on patterns and not actually looking up facts. So, for example, if a certain AI tool like ChatGPT tells you something that it sounds confident in, but it's actually incorrect, that's called a hallucination. And that is because it's predicting based on your input what it should say instead of centering that and grounding its response in actual facts. It is just predicting. And then prompt engineering refers to the skill of writing clear, specific instructions for AI so that it gives you useful and applicable outputs. So that refers to the manipulation of your input to get better outputs. And machine learning, this is also referred or abbreviated to ML. And it means that our algorithms analyze large data sets to learn from experience, make predictions, and improve performance over time without explicit instructions. So, machine learning refers to the machine itself or the algorithm itself learning from these huge data sets so that it can perform on its own without being given human instructions. And this allows it to make predictions and get better at performance and at giving outputs over time. And deep learning is an advanced form of machine learning. And deep learning, or DL, uses artificial neural networks to solve complex problems. So this is a step higher and it powers technologies that are more complex, like computer vision and speech recognition. So it is using these artificial neural networks that are based on the human neural network. And then as for natural language processing, or NLP, this is what enables the machine to read, understand, and generate human language. So this is the technology that actually breaks down your words so that a computer can figure out what you mean in from our human language into its computer language per se and respond from its computer language per se in a way that makes sense to us as humans. So it is just that process of natural language processing. And then generative AI is AI that is creating entirely new content like text, images, and audio based on patterns that it has learned. So, based on that learning process, it is creating something that is entirely new. And there are many AI tools out there, many, many. Some of the biggest ones are ChatGPT, which is developed by OpenAI. This is the most widely used AI tool for writing, brainstorming, coding, summarizing, and general questions and answers. Claude is used by Anthropic, and it's good for longer documents, complex concepts, and detailed writing. Perplexity is a research-focused AI that gives you sources and cited answers. Lovable builds functional websites and web apps from a plain English description with no coding required, which is something that is entirely new in the world. Gemini is by Google. It is Google's AI assistant, deeply integrated with Google products. And Copilot is by Microsoft. It's an AI assistant that's built into a lot of the Microsoft suite products, such as Word, Excel, Teams, and Outlook for workplace productivity, and also just as a chatbot. And Cursor is an AI-powered code editor designed to help developers, so people that are more trained in computer science, to write, edit, and debug code faster. So it helps people get their code better their code. And to deep dive a little bit into some of these AI tools, with ChatGPT, we do have the free plus account with our Cal Poly email, so definitely make use of that so that you don't hit the token limit and run out of uses or prompts that you can give it. You can also give it, I believe, unlimited images when you have the free pro account. So the developer of ChatGPT is OpenAI, and ChatGPT is great at brainstorming, drafting content, summarizing, coding help, and general question and answer. The strengths are that it is extremely versatile across a wide range of tasks and industries. It is strong at creative writing, ideation, and producing long form drafts quickly. It's very quick. It also has a massive user base with extensive tutorials and community support, just because it is the most commonly used AI tool as of right now. There are some weaknesses as it can absolutely produce inaccurate information stated with confidence, known as hallucinations, which we went over. And the free version has limited real-time web access, And the output quality depends very strongly, very heavily on how well you are prompting it, which goes back to prompt engineering. And on the job, you can use ChatGPT for first drafts, rewriting emails, and summarizing long documents. And now to go more into Claude, the developer of Claude, which is another AI tool, is Anthropic. Claude is best for long document analysis, explaining concepts, following detailed instructions. It's very good at handling these long documents, such as PDFs, reports, and contracts. And it can break down complex concepts and ideas in a way that's clear and easy to understand. Like think of a personal tutor, useful for studying, understanding course material, and working through difficult topics. And it keeps a consistent tone throughout longer outputs. Weaknesses, it has no real-time web access on the free tier, and it has fewer integrations as of right now, although there is a lot of growth happening with Claude and with Anthropic right now. And on the job, Claude can be used for uploading and summarizing long reports, drafting structured documents, editing content that needs a specific format, and getting up to speed on an unfamiliar topic quickly. So it's really good for breaking down complex concepts and handling those long documents. And keep in mind that companies have specific AI restrictions and tools that are pertinent to each company. So as for Perplexity, this is another AI tool which is used for research, fact-finding, and getting cited answers that you can verify. So it gives legitimate links. If ChatGPT has ever given you a ghost link when you have asked it for a source, Perplexity is a much better tool to get real strong sources. The strengths are that every answer, or almost every answer, includes real clickable sources. It pulls from the live web, so information is always current, and it significantly reduces the risk of hallucinated or outdated facts because you are able to click on the link and get to the source yourself. So if you want to do research on a certain topic, you can ask Perplexity for sources to look at, and it will direct you to the sources, and you can conduct that research yourself as opposed to getting hallucinated answers, made up facts, made up numbers. Perplexity is also great for getting quickly up to speed on an unfamiliar topic because you can ask it for those reliable academic peer-reviewed sources. Weaknesses, it's not designed for creative or generative writing tasks. It's less effective when you need to draft or build content from scratch. It's much more of a research source tool right now. So on the job, you can use it for market research, competitive analysis, fact checking, or preparing for meetings on topics that you are new to. And then Lovable is a website that builds functional websites and web apps without writing any code at all. So you describe what you want in plain English and you get a working product from it. So, for example, if you say that you want a website for XYZ and it looks like XYZ, you can write that in English, and then Lovable will give you a real website that works immediately in a few minutes. So this is ideal for prototyping ideas. You can make personal portfolios on it, which is like a digital resume. It makes software creation very accessible to non-technical people, so people that haven't studied computer science in the past. Weaknesses are that it is complex, that complex or highly custom features still require developer involvement. So it's not an incredibly complex website that might get developed unless you are a developer yourself and you can provide that extra support. Output quality also depends on how clearly you describe your vision, and there are very limited tokens per session as of the free version. So you can run out of building capacity very quickly if you go in without a plan of what you want to build. So a tip is to use ChatGPT, Claude, or another AI first to plan your website before opening Lovable so that you're not using your tokens going back and forth on what you want this website to look like. So you can go to ChatGPT, Claude, or another AI tool for this planning stage. For example, you can ask it to ask you planning questions as if you were Lovable preparing to build your website. So this saves your tokens for actual building, not back and forth questions, because you do have such a limited amount of tokens within Lovable free version. And on the job, Lovable can be useful for prototyping a product idea, building a personal portfolio site, and creating a simple internal dashboard. So I recommend you check it out if it's something that you're interested in. And as for AI in hiring, AI is being used in hiring right now. Applicant tracking systems, or ATS, refers to a software that automatically scans, filters, and ranks applicants based on how well their resume matches the job description. So, with that, make sure to tailor your resume to the job description, and you can use AI as a tool for that. Have your resume in an easy to read or easy to scan format for this AI tool and or in general for people, and then also ask AI to score your resume against a position or job description. Big Resume is free with your Cal Poly account and it does exactly that. So absolutely recommend using Big Resume. Also, ask AI to generate likely interview questions for the role that you're applying to and practice answering them. Big Interview is free with your Cal Poly account. And going a little bit more in depth into prompt engineering, this is one of the structures that you can use to think about prompt engineering. The goal of prompt engineering is just to give better input to the AI to get better output. So the quality of your answer is what will give you the quality of what you're going to get back from it. So the context is the C, which is give the AI relevant background. So there's just some examples here, which is I'm applying for a marketing internship at a mid-sized tech company so that AI doesn't know everything that you're thinking. So it's really important to contextualize it for the AI tool on who you are, your major, depending on the task, but you want to give it sufficient details for it to be able to provide accurate output instead of going back and forth to tell it to keep adding certain things. The role, tell it who it is. For example, you're a professional career coach with experience in the tech industry. The action, be specific about what you want it to give you. So, for example, help me write a three-sentence answer to the interview question. Tell me about yourself. And then for the F format, specify the output, what you want it to look like. Keep it under 100 words, professional tone, and written in first person, for example. And then for the T, tell it how it should sound. Confident, approachable, and not overly formal. So this is a structure to help you give better inputs to your AI. And some examples to tell me about yourself interview question. The C, I'm applying for a marketing internship at a mid-sized tech company. So this is the one that we went over. So you can use it to help draft ideas for your interview answers, but make sure that you are also incorporating your human element, your own strengths, what you're good at, and your own way of communication, not the way of communication of the AI tool. So you want to make sure that you're staying genuine for yourself. And same goes with any emails. If you're writing an email, it is it is an option to use AI for email writing, but it is also important at the same time to make sure that you have your own tone and that you are still a person communicating to another person. And then here's another scenario, which is resume bullets. So for the C, I am a junior majoring in communications who ran social media for a campus club, growing followers by 40%. So C is that context. And then R is the role. You are an expert resume writer who specializes in early career job seekers. So you're assigning a role to the AI. And then A is the action, what you want it to do. Write 3 resume bullets describing this experience with strong action verbs. And then F, the form. Each bullet is one sentence, starts with a past tense verb, and includes a measurable result. And then the T is the tone, professional, results oriented, and concise. So this example is very specific, and this is much better than if the person had just said, write me 3 bullets for my resume. I'm a communications major. So the more specific that you are, the better that it will be in your response because it has more to work with and more information to respond on. And that is all that I have for the AI and technology competency. Thank you so much for listening to the NASATE workshop on AI and technology.